good evening, everybody. Massive apologies. We're about 11 minutes behind technical difficulties, but that's how we roll anyway. So we thank you for your patience. But of course, as we get through the show, please do put your comments through, get the conversation going as we go through, because we'd love to hear from you. So we'll kick straight into it to catch up. Obviously, as co-host with me this evening, Liam, how are you doing?
Yep, good evening, everyone. Good evening, G. Yep, and good evening to Andy as well. I'm all good. Kind of getting myself over the Liverpool game. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not really disappointed in the team performance. I'm disappointed with a lot of things that conspired in that game. We didn't get what we deserved, in my opinion. But yeah, we've got to move on.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll get into it much more later on as well. And Andy, it's nice to see you. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I know. I missed you all.
We missed you. Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for joining us again.
No worries.
Real. Well, what we'll do, we'll, as we normally do at the moment, we head into the women's section first. Of course, there was no fixture this week because we are currently on international break. Terrible performance from England against Germany the other night, but it sounds like we are slightly making up for that at the moment. And Leah Williamson has also got a goal so far that I'm hearing, so a nice bit of Arsenal bonus on there as well. But yeah, Andy, as I say, we haven't spoken for a little while. Obviously, we've been speaking separately to the shows. So I just want to get your thoughts, obviously, the last couple of weeks within the team, obviously the change of management. First of all, what were your thoughts on Jonas, and do you think it was the right time?
There's never a right time, I suppose, to sack a manager, but for me, he should have went in the summer. And this whole period's almost been a waste, really, because I don't know about yourselves, but I find the women such a hard watch at the moment, and that stems from him and his relationship with the players and how it's getting portrayed and how he's cascading that down to what he wants to see on the pitch. But clearly, it wasn't happening. There seems to be some really unhappy players there at the moment, like really unhappy. You can just tell it kind of in the body language. So big decisions need to be made, I think, and they need to make sure they get this right, because if we're not careful, we're going to fall way behind, and the season's almost going to be over before it's even really begun, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, just from your experience of obviously being in dressing rooms and being in around a club environment, we've obviously heard Leah come out in last week's England interview, sort of saying it's nice to be in a different environment. It just sort of shows that how toxic it probably was towards the end as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, and for her to come out and say it as well. I mean, she's an ultra professional on and off the pitch, so clearly she's pretty unhappy with the way things were. And let's hope she can get back from the England camp and get all the guys back in together and kind of take the club on again. But it's kind of all gone really quiet, hasn't it? There's been nothing really said about what's going on or what's happening. So, it's great we can handing it to the coach that was there, but I don't really know too much about it to kind of pass comment, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing is that she has been in and around the environment for a little while, I think. And someone was saying she was actually in the under-17s for Arsenal back in the day. There was a picture or something that came out in a team. I don't know how old she is, so it wasn't obviously a little while ago.
Yeah. Right.
But again, that might, if that is true, maybe that's also something that she can bring, something knowing about what the club is about from before as well, before all of this toxic thing is going around. But yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, as well, as while we're obviously waiting and taking our time to take the next step and finding the next coach. So even it's really quiet, as you say, around this international break as well, because they're due to come back after today and tomorrow. So do you think that's sort of odd that we haven't heard anything and nothing's been sort of confirmed ready before the WSL kicks in again?
It is, because it kind of says to me that there wasn't a plan in place. So this has kind of come around, pretty quickly, I think. I don't know whether the club maybe weren't quite as aware of how disenchanted the kind of fan base were with the way things were going in the relationship with the manager. And Yeah, because he just hasn't felt right for so long. It's not felt right. And I remember on one of our programs a while ago talking about the fact that he changed his whole persona and almost came back as this like kind of super coach with his new hairstyle and amazing gear, and it was just not the Jonas that I'd seen the previous sort of year. So yeah, it just wasn't right, but it almost felt like everyone could see it apart from the club. So for me, it should have happened in the summer. I think he'd lost the players anyway by that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, echo what you're thinking there as well. And just over to you, Liam, as well. Are you sort of surprised that no name has been announced and we've sorted that while we've obviously had this period of internationals and players have gone away to sort of refresh?
Yeah, it seems to me that something's definitely conspired within the camp. Like we just said, that you can tell that it's not a happy camp, or it wasn't a happy camp. You can tell there's definitely something not right there. But with us not really making an appointment, it tells me that we weren't really planning not to be with him. Which I do find quite surprising, really, because like the writing, as we said, the writing was on the wall pretty much last year, and we was talking about it. Everyone was talking about it. Like, does he get the opportunity this year, etc., etc. So you'd think the club were kind of thinking like that if everyone else is, but it seems to me that the club probably weren't thinking like that, and I just don't. It seems to me that something's happened, and obviously in the background, it's obviously conspired into the squad, and it's not a happy camp, and you could tell that by the performance on the pitch. You could certainly tell that at the end of the Chelsea game in terms of that huddle. That it was all the word was awkward, weren't it? It was very awkward. And I don't understand why it was a surprise, because the last 2 seasons I keep repeating myself, and I don't like repeating myself, but we didn't win our home games in the last 2 seasons at the start of the season. Do you know what I mean? Like we start the season very slowly under him, and yet again it was a 3rd season in a row. So I think that I would have thought that the club potentially would have been identifying people at the very least, but I don't know. I am surprised that no one's been announced. I actually thought they'd have someone in place within a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's what we were all thinking, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine's comment there is just saying the latest rumor is the previous Man City manager that is currently out in the MLS. I'm not sure who that is, so I will do some research for sure to find out. But there's not a lot of there's actually not a lot of rumors going around. So you've heard like the Casey Stoney type of thing, but I think that's more because she is available, but also she obviously has Arsenal connections.
Yeah.
But realistically, I haven't seen a lot going around, which is also odd in that time, because you normally at this time, not to bring it into the men's, but obviously with United, you're already hearing names already here, there, and everywhere, aren't you? So it's kind of strange that we must be about. But I think it's 2 weeks today. I think maybe 3 weeks ago. That still nothing is sort of.
Then again, is it that strange when we think about it? It ain't no different to Mikel Arteta when he come in Arsenal. Freddie Ljungberg had to take over the team for a few weeks. So when you look at it like that, maybe the club do go through a whole process of interviewing people and have to go through a criteria and everything. So maybe it's something that's been implemented behind the scenes, because what was Arteta? I think it was at least 3 weeks, wasn't it? 3 to 4 weeks before he got officially announced. And
because it was like November, December type thing, wasn't it, as well?
The only difference I can think of, though, Liam, is we knew we were aware of it as well, though. I kind of knew Freddie was going to come in, and we kind of knew Arteta. It was the rumblings were there, if you know what I mean. There's just nothing with the ladies, which is it's bizarre. It's very un-Arsenal like, really. I think even just to put the fans in the picture and just say, listen, it's happened. We realised he had to go. We're now going to take our time and get the right appointment, and such is in charge now, and we've got she's got our full backing or whatever. But just to say nothing at all is it's strange, really.
Yeah, but like you say, Liam, as long as they're doing the job behind the scenes and making the right appointment, you would take a little bit of a delay, wouldn't you, to make sure the right person for the job is suitable and can connect with the girls, because let's face it, they've got a challenge straight away, haven't they? Because we're already 5 games in, and we're already looking in towards the weekend. Obviously, we're away at United, and we're 2 points behind, and they also have a game in hand. I mean, to be 5 games in at this point, and obviously they're 4th or 3rd, I think. I'll double check that, or we're 5th or 6th type of where we are on the table. So already whoever is coming in has got one to connect the girls and get them confident again and get them playing the way that we know that they can, but also they've got that thing of they need to hit the ground running, because we can't afford now at this stage to lose any more points.
The knock-on effect is that it can be quite disillusioning for some of the supporters. I don't know whether you found it noticeable as well, but especially social media, like a lot of the supporters are going in on some of the players now, which was something that I'd never really seen at all. The big thing about the women's football was the togetherness that was there between everybody sat on the terrace, right through to the coaching staff and the players, and even that discord is kind of cascaded out, hasn't it? It's becoming a bit poisonous, really.
Yeah, but I will say though, obviously I was at the Chelsea game at the Emirates. That's the first game I've managed to get to this year. And before the game, obviously with my friends and everything, we were all a bit like, oh God, what is going to happen today? And we were all kind of a bit apprehensive to even get in there. But normally, obviously, this is my first game, I would be buzzing. But I was like, I don't know how to feel today. It's just because of what had gone on, obviously, the week of being battered away at Munich, obviously the Everton game the week before. It was kind of, there was some apprehension among the fans, I would say. But as soon as we got in there, it was like a totally different vibe. And I've got to say, it was all of the fans throughout the whole, even when we were 2-0 down, obviously you could hear a bit here and there. But it was a huge collective, and to try and push on through the game, which I was surprised at, because I thought there would be, not that the women's fans are like that, but in that space, you thought it might have got a little bit tricky at certain times. I thought, well, what's the point? We'll just go or aim some negativity towards the team. But actually, the fans that day were unreal. But I get what you say, because the hardest thing I think with women's football is some of the fan base are actually more for the player as an individual rather than the club. Because obviously with the Euros win, I mean, there's no doubt that that's kicked off the women's game unbelievably. And it's obviously got more girls into it, more fans into it, which is amazing. But it has brought that no one is connected to a club. They're sort of, because they knew Leah Williamson and Beth Mead, everyone sort of kind of went towards Arsenal. So I feel like at the moment there's also that challenge within like the fan base, and social media is just rubbish for that, isn't it? It's so easy to just blame a certain player.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said, the one massive thing that is always there is this, and always has been there with the women's football, is the complete togetherness. And the last thing we want now is to have this kind of pause in between managers, and God forbid we go to Man United at the weekend and we don't win. A draw's not even good enough. We've got to go there and win, and then go on a long winning run, which we're more than capable of doing. We know that, but it's somehow trying to pick the players up, because even, I mean, the West Ham game, it was such a tough watch. It's such a hard watch, and then the manager's gone now, and we really need to kind of give ourselves a shake and go again now, because we can't keep wallowing now, because ultimately the season could be over and we're not even at November. And it couldn't be mental to think that.
And Catherine makes a couple of good points there as well. As much as we all don't like when the internationals come through, it probably has come at one of the best times. Weirdly though, all the girls were training at London Colney for the Lionesses, so that's kind of strange.
I saw them with a dog.
But there was something like, Leah just said last week about wanting to get away from the environment, and they're straight back there.
I know.
But obviously, Lionesses camp is completely different to what it would be for the Arsenal. And as Catherine said as well, that pretty much all of the strikers and midfielders are in amongst the goals as well, which again will just do wonders for the confidence, won't it, Liam?
Yeah, Yeah, well, that's what you want, innit? That's what you would need now is like for them to go away, scoring goals like they are doing, like it's showing that quite a few of them are doing, and then to come back. And I agree with Catherine. I think the international breaks come at the absolute perfect time. Like players will be able to go away, they'll be able to kind of reflect on what's kind of happened over the last couple of months, pretty much including pre-season, and hopefully look forward to coming back and. I wouldn't say making some wrongs right, do you know what I mean? But I think as a player at times, when the environment's not right, it's going to affect your game. And hopefully when they come back, they'll have something to look forward to with a new manager, fresh ideas, do you know what I mean? Fresh input. Yeah. And hopefully we'll see that in terms of how they play. And I'm really for that because I just feel at times Jonas never got the best out of the options that he had, and especially when you look at the forwards, I fully expected them to be scoring more goals than they did, but that's not all down to them. That's down to the system, the team. Yeah. What supply are they getting? What's the style of play he's playing? And I sometimes I don't think he knew his best 11. I think it was so often that he just did not know his best 11, and. Yeah, I'll continue to say I do think the fifth situation is a massive piece because obviously we know, obviously she's with Beth and all that, and it must have been quite uncomfortable and it must be quite awkward, and they will all have their friends and all like who they go to and all that kind of stuff. And of course, it affect the camp, and I think that was a key point. I do think that was a key point in terms of not him losing his job, but him going towards that direction.
Yeah, it certainly sort of pushed him off the cliff slightly more, didn't it?
It might have been a decision that he had to make. It might have been. We don't know, do we? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Or even not even his decision, really.
Yeah. But sometimes when something's happened, you can't put it back right. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel that we got to a situation with Jonas where he weren't going to get it back right. So they made the right decision in the end. And I know they said obviously he walked, but I don't believe he did. I believe he was given the opportunity to resign, basically, or we sack you. Yeah. I think that's how it probably panned out as such. I hope he does well. I hope he goes on and does well wherever he goes. I don't think he's a bad person or a bad coach overnight. I just think he ran out of ideas and he couldn't get the best out of the playing squad that we had.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But obviously just looking into Sunday, so another lunchtime fixture. So 12:30, we're obviously up at Lee Sports Village away at United. Was in the last couple of seasons, this has actually been quite a good game. Obviously we came away 2-1 winners last year. But just thinking about obviously our Champions League game where we, as I said last week, the scoreline actually looked better. And easier than what the game actually was. Yeah. But it showed in that game, obviously, I'll come to you, Andy, because I said last week that the likes of Caldente really stepped up and took that game by the scruff of the neck, really, and got us through it. Just showing her leadership and obviously what she's about. We all know she's won everything in the game, but to have a player like that at this time, she could have shied away from it because she's still fairly new to this team and this country and the WSL. But actually, she again in the weekend fixture, I can't remember who we played now. But obviously, we won that as well. Sorry, I can't remember.
West Ham,
wasn't it? Yeah, that was going straight up ahead. But yeah, has been a tricky fixture for us in previous seasons as well. But we've got the job done there as well, haven't we? But just going back to Caldente, how important it is that she did step up in those moments and sort of show the others what she's capable of and that she's going to help us going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that big game mentality, isn't it? You know, that in the other games, in the second half against Chelsea, she was phenomenal. And it's almost like Saka with the men's. There's a different personality there now. And all the girls can look at her and they know that she's going to produce on that big occasion. And you'd like to think that what she's got, she can kind of drag other players with her now as well. It must be a pleasure to kind of play with her when she's on form like that. And it's just we're very lucky to have her, and I just hope we can kind of build a really good squad around her.
Yeah,
I think just on that with the women's football now, I think going into the weekend, there's a massive onus now on the players, because ultimately we all know now that there's a discord between them and the manager and what have you. The manager's gone now. He's been gone for a few weeks. So no matter what this coach is coming in and doing, there's also an onus on the players now to say, well, hang on a minute, right? We've got no excuses now. There's absolutely no excuses. From this point onwards, he's gone now. We're ready for the next one, but we've got to tip the ball by the horns a little bit and take a bit of ownership and kind of almost they can drag us forward themselves, because we need that now. We can't be just kind of sitting shirking in shells and not defending, because we've been so poor. So now there's no excuses now. So it's now all systems go. Let's all pull together and let's go on a massive winning run. And all of a sudden we'll be looking back at Christmas all being well, and we're in with a shout in the league and everything's happy again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, just looking at Mark's comment there, it sounds like Leah, despite what I said earlier, we are now possibly. Are we losing 2-1, or are we?
I think we're winning 2-1, aren't we?
We're winning 2-1.
But Leah's not looking great, which is obviously not good for the confidence boost going into the weekend. But
she struggled.
Yeah,
she struggled this season, though.
It's a big injury, isn't it? And I think she didn't play the other night because, and obviously she's had a concussion recently, so she hasn't been consistently in the team either, has she? So
no, absolutely,
it's tricky at the moment with our back line is probably the hardest to choose at this moment, because Lossa's obviously not been at herself, obviously after a long injury through the summer as well. So it's sort of changing quite frequently. We haven't got a settled back four, so maybe that's part of the issue. Yeah, let's not mention that guy's name. But yeah, Liam, just going into obviously Sunday as well. Alessia Russo, she has just been awarded England's best player for the last year. Obviously, England is of course separate to Arsenal, but she has in the last couple of games looks like she's getting more involved and is ready to get back into that confidence again, isn't she? And how important it will be to have the number 9 firing goals.
Yeah, do you know what? She's a really even last year, it's her all-round play. She's a superb player. She's really a superb player. But sometimes I was watching her and I was thinking, you're doing so much in different areas, but really we need you in the box. Do you know what I mean? I remember a game against Leicester last year that we won in the end quite comfortably. I think it was Leicester. It might have been Aston Villa, one of the two. And she done everything that night. She done everything. But for me, we needed her in the box. We needed her to score goals. Do you know what I mean? And I'm hoping whoever comes in can get the very best out of her and use her for where I believe she would be at her most dangerous. And I think it's being in that box. And do you know what I mean? Because give her a chance, she will take the chance if she's given the opportunity. But I just feel at times under the owner, she was doing a lot more than she probably needed to at times. It's good that she can do it, but at the same time, there was no one else up there. Do you know what I mean? So if she's not in the box, we're struggling. And I just felt in certain games last year, that's what was happening. It's an unbelievably tough game Sunday, right? It doesn't matter what form of football. Man United and Arsenal don't like each other. Okay, so whether it's men's football, women's football, they'll want to beat us. Do you know what I mean? And they'll be enjoying that our situation at the moment, and we need to go there. And this is, do you know what? This could be a crossroads game for us for this season, because if we did go, and I'm going to be totally honest, I'm struggling to see us win on Sunday. I'm being totally honest. I am struggling to see us win, but that's because what we've seen over the start of this season. But if we could go there and win, the confidence that will bring that team, and it will unite the girls again, do you know what I mean? And give them so much confidence going into the rest of the season, that I do feel this is a crossroads kind of game in terms of the league. Now, it's even more than a distant dream that we're going to win the league this year. Do you know what I mean? When you look at the other teams, but we still need to fight. We still need to fight. We still need to compete, and we still need to finish as high up as we possibly can in this league. Like at the end of the day, we need to be in the Champions League playing football. Do you know what I mean? We're Arsenal. We got a 60,000 stadium that we let these girls go out and perform each week. It don't feel right to me that we wouldn't be in Champions League football with with the facilities we got. So we need to go out there and use this game as a bit of a crossroads kind of game. Do I think we're going to win? Not. I ain't confident. I think a draw wouldn't be a bad result by any stretch of imagination. But the last thing we need is another defeat. Because if you get a defeat again, heads just drop that little bit more. And the mindset then goes in, we can't beat Chelsea. We can't beat Man United. We drew against Man City, which could have gone either way, to be fair. And then you start worrying about the mindset in terms of when you have to play them again later in the season as well. Because do they believe that they can go and beat these teams?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's one of those where you kind of think at this stage, for confidence, for position in the table, for everything else, it's kind of as they would say, a 6-pointer, really. And there's so much more to it than just getting 3 points on the board, I think. And Andy, just finally with you, in the terms of like Russo, for example, she's going back to, of course, she's been with us for a year or so now, but she is still associated with fans. She is a United fan, of course. Just as a player point of view, do you think that ever, like, confident, if she isn't the highest on confidence, do you think that would play more into her mind on the game?
I'm not so sure with Alessia Russo, but I can see where you're coming from with that. But no, I actually think she's got a really good mentality, and ultimately she's got that full belief in herself. Yeah, you can see that with the way she plays. You know, she likes to play. It's a bit of freedom. Sometimes she does things on the ball that nobody kind of expects, and she's got the mentality for it for me, and I think that she can rise above that and just put in that performance. I'm a bit different to Liam. I actually think we're going to go and win on Sunday. I really do. I really fancy us to turn the corner, because I just daren't think of the situation if we don't. So I'll blank that out, and we're just going to win on Sunday, and everything's fine. It's easy. Yeah.
That's what I love to hear. I'll just get a couple of predictions from you as well, just to end this section. So Liam, I will come to you first. Obviously, you're going for a possible loss, but
no, I'm
not.
not.
Do you think a scoreline?
I'm not going to go for a loss. I can't do that. But I am going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Going to go 2-2. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And Andy?
Yeah, I think both teams will score, but I do think that we'll come out on top, and I think it will be United 1, us 3. 2-goal cushion, big performance. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
We've got this.
I was also thinking that, but I will go 3-2, just as a mix-up as well, because like you say, I do think that the last 2 games we've played as Arsenal, we've got through them both, started to play some nice football again. Obviously, other players, Kafaji getting minutes, scoring, that's a confident boost.
Yeah.
Caldente bringing us through, all of that. So, I think now that they've all been away, different environments, seen their friends, family from other places as well, come back, be ready to hit the ground running. But I do think United will score a few. We will. What was that? I would start forward, Blacksenius and Kafaji on top. Yeah, possibly.
Sure.
I'm not the biggest fan of Caitlin Ford, to be fair, so I'd maybe take her out. And I'd even realistically play Russo on one of the wings with Stina up top, because, like you said, Liam's Alessia gets stuck in all aspects, and sometimes isn't up top where she should be. So that's a possibility. And we know that they work so well together as well. So but we've got so many forwards. There's endless formations and the lineups we can think of, isn't there? So let's just hope that come Sunday lunchtime, we're all prepared and ready for it. And I think it possibly might be live on BBC. I'm not sure, but it'll be a good one to watch, I think, as well, for the women's game overall. So we'll obviously go through whatever happens on Sunday next week for a review as well. But yeah, that's it for the women's side. So Liam, over to you.
Yep. Obviously we had the game Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. At the Emirates, massive game it was. Arsenal versus Liverpool. I've got the team up here, so we'll kind of have a look at the team. So just want to get your kind of thoughts on it. First and foremost, Andy, in terms of the lineup. So David Raya starting in goal, Thomas Partey, Ben White, Gabriel, and a returning Timber, which is obviously a relief to hear, playing at left back. Declan Rice and Moreno playing alongside Trossard in the Odegaard role as he continues to be out. With Saka returning on the right, Martinelli on the left, and Havertz up top. In terms of that starting lineup, mate, how happy was you to see Timber and Saka return?
I was really surprised to see Timber, I'll be honest. But so yeah, that was a very pleasant surprise, because I kind of did worry about what kind of back four we were going to, or how we were going to kind of go with the back four, because it seems that Mikel's lost complete trust in Zinchenko now. So kind of he was out of that, and then we had Kiwior come on against Bournemouth and had a bit of a disaster, and you think, oh my lord. So yeah, seeing him on the team sheet was it was lovely, I must say. And let's be honest, I think it was about 60-70% fit, Timber.
Yeah.
What a shift he put in on Sunday. Unbelievable, honestly. Yeah. You watched the first few minutes and you could see he'd not played for a while, and he was giving the ball away. You could see his timing wasn't right. But by God, at the end, he ran himself into the ground and he put in a great performance in.
Just going over to you, G, as well. Obviously, the big decision was Thomas Partey going right back, and I'm going to be totally honest, I was one of them that didn't really want to see that, but I thought I actually thought he had an outstanding game on Sunday. But I actually think Thomas Partey, and I was one of them at the start of the season that asked people to kind of back off him, because if he gets games and gets minutes, his form will return. I think the last month he's been absolutely superb, where he's been asked to play centre midfield, which is his obviously main position. But the game on Sunday, I think, was probably his best game I've seen him at fullback. And I didn't think Diaz got much out of him, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, in the group chat, when we saw it happening, we all thought, oh, God. Because you just associate to when he was last in that position. But absolutely, as you say, he got stuck in. Naturally, he isn't going to be outpacing Diaz, really, is he? But that you can't really fault him for that, because it's not where he plays, and he doesn't necessarily need pace. But yeah, he was getting stuck in with the tackles. He was winning the ball pretty much every time, from what I saw. And yeah, I think he deserved more credit than he was given. Like, I wasn't seeing anything really being spoken about him, which is a shame, because people are so easy to jump on his back, as we all know. But yeah, actually, when he pulls out performance out of position against a very good team and some very quick players, he didn't get the love that I think he deserved. But now we know that he's obviously played there a few times. That will give him confidence of being in that position, because he's not going to love it, is he? Let's be honest. No. But he's filled in and he stepped up for the team, and you can't ask for any more than that. And obviously seeing that Saka and Timber were back was incredible. I think Saka, I know we'll go into it more, but I think he was unbelievable, and it kind of shows what he can achieve when he does get a bit of a rest. Sometimes through injury, of course, we can't help it. He's not going to play, but maybe sometimes he does need a game here and there to give him an extra week in his legs, because I think he was an absolute monster against them, and that goal he scored was ridiculous. There you go. As you say, he actually reached 50 Premier League goals at the age of 23, and I think 55-ish days. So he's up there on the little stat came up on the telly after he scored as well, and he's up there with some of the Premier League greats. So it's just, again, just shows how incredible he is, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm going to go to you, Andy, on obviously Bukayo Saka as well. As G rightly said, his performances are absolutely outstanding. And this season, I know he's been injured for the last couple of weeks, but the assists, the goals, he's become a leader now, hasn't he? Like, I listened to him the other week after the Paris Saint-Germain game, And we're talking about Paris Saint-Germain. I know they haven't got like the big players like they had like probably last year and the year before, but for him to go out there and skip at a team, but it was the way when he come off and he was talking to the punditry team after. He just sounds like a leader now. He sounds like a captain. And I'll be honest with you, probably a few years ago, you'd have never really dreamed that Bukayo Saka would probably be in front of Declan Rice in terms of the captainship. If you'd had that conversation, whether he was at West Ham at the time, Rice, or Saka was at Arsenal, but at the moment, I see Saka as our next captain, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, it's almost like a switch has been flicked a little bit with Saka this season, in as much as just the way that he carries himself on and off the pitch. Don is that lovely, shy kind of young kid that we all love. This kind of man has turned up, and he's still got that grounded personality. Yet he's just a mentality monster. His stats are just for a lad of his age. His stats are just incredible, and honestly, as Arsenal fans, we're so lucky to have him, because it just astounds me all the time. He can have games when sometimes he doesn't seem like he's quite at it, and the next thing he's whipping in a cross and he's setting up the winner or whatever. He's just got this ability to. He's got this such belief in himself that he knows there will be at least a part of the game where he will play. He will figure massively, and the kid's incredible. He's so strong. I mean, he'll have a big fixture at the weekend against Big Dan Burn, but I've seen Dan Burn bounce off him as well. So he's just got the lot. He's got pace, power, skill, athleticism, and this leadership thing that like you, Liam, I never saw this a couple of years ago. I'd have probably laughed at you if you'd have said Saka will be skipper going into this game at the weekend. But the kid's just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I saw the Ballon d'Or top 10 yesterday, and I just scratched my head, because there's players in there you're thinking, what the hell? Because he deserves to be amongst and being spoke about amongst the best players that are out there for me.
Yeah, I'll be very disappointed if we got to next year and he weren't in that top 10 Ballon d'Or. And I know that's a bold statement to say, and we're sitting in only October at the moment. But when you look at what he's producing at the moment, and you look at what he was one of our standout players that I felt for England over the summer. Which it was quite hard to have standout players, even though we got to a final, which was quite a strange situation. But that guy that always try and make something happen, won't he? He's always out trying to do something on the pitch. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they went to me like, "Oh, we're really missing Odegaard," which 100% we are. And go, we ain't got the creativity, and I kind of argued against that. Like, did you see Saka's assist against Southampton for Martinelli's goal? Like, don't get me wrong, Martinelli said put it in the back of the net, but that's all Bukayo Saka. That is literally all Bukayo Saka, and he's been doing that game in, game out for us. And I'm quite confident in the weekend. I know it sounds a bit stupid at the moment, but when I just think of Saka's back in the team, back on form, he's going to make things happen, isn't he? And he just brings that team to a different level. And you're saying about Timber as well. I just think that them two, like, are so good in their positions, and they were such a massive plus to have back in that side on Sunday. And the first half performance for me was like last year. And I'd say it's even more impressive than the performance against Liverpool in the last season, because we was all a little bit down, weren't we? We didn't know what we was going to get. We was all a bit worried about this game, that could Liverpool come in and steamroll us. But it was the other way around in the first half. Like, I said to the guy beside me when the corner got given, I goes, they're going to score from a set piece, the corner, because they got the likes of Van Dijk and all that. And I don't know why. Trent Arnold, Van Dijk, I could just see it happening. But it was the only mistake that we made in the first half. We probably didn't get tight enough to our markers. But when I thought about the rest of that first half, we was in complete control, absolute complete control. And the only reason we didn't win that game is because Gabriel goes off and then Timber goes off. We were still on the front foot until Gabriel got injured. The problem was, though, when Gabriel got injured and Kirwall come on, and I don't want to disrespect him, but automatically the team started to move backwards because they weren't so confident. The midfield weren't so confident what was behind them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just really gutted how it all conspired on Sunday, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, absolutely gutted, because for 60 minutes, I thought we was absolutely outstanding to a man. And you just, when your luck's down, your luck's down. And you've probably been there loads of times, Andy, in the past when you're playing games and you come off the pitch, mate, and you scratch your head and you think, how the hell have we not won that one?
Yeah.
And I think Arteta would have got the team off the pitch on Sunday. And I think what he would have said to him was, do you know what? You've not won the game. Things are happening in that game to stop you winning that game. We could have done better. We could have definitely done better for the goal they conceded, by the way, the second goal. But if I look at the overall performance and look at, I'm getting Timber back. I've got Saliba coming back at the weekend. It looks like Gabriel's injury is not so bad as we thought. Do you know what I mean? We get these kind of players back. I still think we're literally matching Man City at the moment in terms of what we can do this season. My concern, though, is at the moment is we've dropped too many points already, and the red cards are what's costing us. The red cards is why we're in the situation we are. Some of it is our own doing. We can't sit there and say, because I think at times the word naive is the word I use at times. I find the way we do stuff at times still very naive when you consider sitting there thinking, look, you've been in 2 title runs now. This should be your season. And I don't see Man City or Liverpool, after playing both these teams, better than us. And in both games, we should have took 6 points.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, Andy. I just think, mate, we should have took 6 points out of them 2 games. I think our performances, especially in the first half of Man City and the first half at Liverpool, warranted 6 points.
Yeah. Well, Slot said after the match, didn't he, that the first half that we're the first team to be better than them this season that he's seen. So I mean that in itself says it all as well. Because I'll be honest, going into the game, I was a little bit apprehensive. And even when the team sheet came out, and it was great seeing Timber and what have you back, but you knew Partey was at right back, so that was never good. You knew that Timber was not going to be nowhere near fully fit yet, and he's up against Liverpool, one of the most dynamic teams in the Premier League. So it was quite a worrying prospect, in fairness. The reaction from the players was just incredible, though. Absolutely incredible. And just going back to Thomas Partey as well, not only did he get his tackles in and win balls in areas and stifle Diaz completely, it's his distribution as well. When he's on it, which he is right now, he's a phenomenal player to watch. And there's not many better in the Premier League to watch when they're on the game than Thomas Partey. And as he starts to slip them balls through the lines into our kind of more effective players, your Trossards, into your Sakas, into your Martinellis, we look at different proposition completely. And the difference in Declan Rice on Sunday was stark, because I'd been disappointed with Declan up until that game, to be honest. I felt as though we weren't getting the Declan Rice that we signed last season. He was just off the pace somehow. But my God, he made up for it on Sunday. He was magnificent. And if we got him on that form moving forwards now, as Liam said, hopefully getting a few players coming back now, they're getting fitter each week. Because a bit like what we said with the women's side, we need to go on a 15, 20 game run now, win with wins. Defeats is unthinkable. A draw is almost unthinkable now. But there's a long, long way to go. I mean, everyone's getting carried away, 5 points off City and blah, 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 blah. They'll be dropping points at some point through the season. It's up to us to capitalise now. Let's hope our blips happened and we move on now, and Liverpool and City will have their blips. It stands to reason. It happens year in, year out, and we need to be there to pounce when that happens.
Yeah, we definitely do need to be there to pounce, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like you look at. I looked at it this way on Sunday. Like, this is how we finished the game. We finished the game with at least our 4th choice, if not 5th choice, right back, playing at right back. We end up with Ben White, who's probably our third, 4th choice centre back, if you include Calafiori. Jacob Kivior. Well, it's no disrespect to him, but he's pretty much our last choice centre back who would be on the pitch as a centre back at the moment. And then you bring Lewis Skelly on, and you've got at least 3 to 4 left backs that will be in front of him if they're fit. And we have to put it in perspective at times a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like like what I will say is, and I say Mark said something earlier on, very damning on Zinchenko now. Very, very damning. If you're on the bench, you're fit enough to play in my eyes, or you should be fit enough to play 20 minutes. For him to go and look, I'm bringing Skelly on in front of him, tells me that at the moment, Zinchenko's probably career at Arsenal's pretty much at the back end of it. Because I don't see where we go from here with him, because that was the time he would have got brought on, but we decided to go for Skelly. And someone said to me, "Do you think it would have been best off bringing Jorginho on and pushing Declan back and pushing Kipor to the left back?" It's all, I guess, it's all if buts and maybes, isn't it? It was a very hard decision on Sunday. Like someone else said to me, "Did we bring on the subs quick enough?" No offense, Mikel Arteta's job at that point wasn't really to worry about what was going forward. It was literally what was going to conspire at the back. And the other thing with it is, as you said, Liverpool were one of the most dynamic teams in the league, if not the best team in apart from Arsenal, with their wing play. And I thought Timber and Partey had their wingers on in the pocket. Let's not get it twisted. Once Timber went off, Salah scored. Like, he weren't doing nothing, Salah. So I forgot half time Salah was on the pitch, but he proved that he's a world-class player, because that movement and that goal was top draw.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Very, very good. Do you know what I mean? Top draw, and that's what you can give. But he weren't doing that against Timber whatsoever, and Diaz weren't doing it against Partey. And I just think now, with the defence we've got, if we can get them back fit, and I think we're a better team away from home anyway. I think we get confused a little bit at home at times, whether we should. And I think sometimes, especially Sunday, the only time we got caught out of position on Sunday was for the goal. I sat there and thought, well, did they really have many other opportunities? Did they really, really test Raya that well? And I was thinking, not really. Do you know what I mean? We got caught out once, and we got a little bit too eager, because I will ship the blame on Martinelli if I'm going to ship the blame on anyone, really, because I just felt it was typical Martinelli moment, very headless. Like, if he put his head up, he'd have realised he was never going to beat them two men. And do you know what he'd have been better off doing? Going to the corner flag and drawing them out and trying to get a corner or a throw-in out of it. But it's easy said and done. But I looked at that transition of play, and I looked at Martinelli and thought, you should have done better. And I will go back to it. I think longer term as well, with the left wing situation, it's definitely an upgradable position now.
Yeah, although I have to say, over the last 2 or 3 games, Martinelli's been superb. We've whinged and moaned about him on this programme. I certainly have many a time. But I can hold my hands up and say that, at the moment, he seems to be back now. And when he is back and he is firing, he's scary. I mean, as much as, we all know Liverpool's second goal was a phenomenal ball by Trent, which was great, but Martinelli tore Trent apart at the weekend again. He does it every time they play against him.
Why does he do it? Why does he do it against Liverpool? Because it seems to come from me, this Klopp thing with Martinelli. Like, Klopp loved Martinelli, didn't he? Bigged him up. And you see a totally different Martinelli against Liverpool to any other teammate. Like, every game I watch Martinelli against Liverpool, I know we're going to get the best of Martinelli.
Yeah, do you know, as a player, you always there's always an opponent out there that, for whatever reason, you always get the better of them. And you kind of can't wait for that game to come around, whoever it was. I spent my whole career trying to find who that player was, but I never did. But it's almost like Trent is tailor-made for someone like a Martinelli with his blistering pace. All Martinelli needs to do against Trent is slow him down and then he goes again, and that explosiveness just tears Trent apart. And it's quite difficult for him to then deal with it. But in fairness, when Martinelli's really on form, everybody gets a tough time against him. His final ball's improving now. Even that the goal that went in recently, when it bounced off the keeper, his shot that bounced off the keeper and back in, that's still a big shot of confidence to Martinelli as well. And fair play to him for getting through it, because I'd been his fiercest critic up until a few weeks ago, but he's been exceptional. And as with the rest of the players at the weekend, he was on Sunday as well.
Just going to go with you, G. on Trossard. I thought he had a really good first half. But I think the problem was in the second half, if everything conspired, it made it quite an hard game for him to then get on the ball. How do you feel that his input has been since obviously Martin Odegaard's got injured in that role? Because we probably naturally a year ago would have seen him play in that position, but obviously with Smith Rowe going, Vieira being loaned out, he's now been given this opportunity. Do you feel comfortable with him sitting in that position? I know Odegaard's obviously a different kettle of fish, and like he's everything to us. But do you think Trossard's a good replacement if he's not fit?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the midfield three did amazingly the other day as well, considering that's a three that have absolutely not played together before. Obviously with Mikel Merino as well. But yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't mean that Havertz is being pulled back to the midfield, then I'm all for it, because that's the difficulty with those two, isn't it? But yeah, I think he stepped up a little bit. We've again, like Andy said, we have been a bit critical of him and Martinelli of not performing when they're getting the chance to, and rotating, and then one of them's really good, then the other one isn't, and then you're like, oh God, what are we doing here? But yeah, I think since the last maybe 3 games, he's sort of turned up and put a shift in, and I think he absolutely did that on Sunday as well. So, I mean, he's a very different player to Odegaard, isn't he? So we can't ever expect him to reach the same level. But I think sometimes when you can have a quiet game as well, it shows that you're doing the business. Because we weren't thinking, oh God, what's he doing? He's not losing the ball here. He kind of just coasted through the game, which I think is a good thing sometimes for certain players to sort of they're doing the work without you noticing them, type of thing. So I think that's what his performance was like on Sunday. But as I say as well, just I think Moreno had a brilliant game on Sunday as well, considering he's not been in the fold too much, really, has he, since coming into the club. I think he was up for the fight big time, and I think that's what helped Declan as well, to be fair. Him alongside him, and he was ready to win. Again, he was winning balls that you wouldn't normally see us in midfield do, and which was, I think, was encouraging Declan to do it as well. I think they sort of connected quite well together. So he's an exciting prospect in midfield going forward for us. And obviously when he scored, it's like when you celebrate like that, it's like you've got a player that's going to fight for your club, isn't it? So yeah, I think we could literally talk about every single player and how well they all did, in all fairness, on Sunday. I don't think anyone comes away from that in a bad light. I really don't think. I don't think they could have, like you said, I don't think they could have done a lot more than what they did that day.
I just like the one thing I was going to ask you, Andy, around Mikel Merino, because obviously it's been a bit of a frustrating start for him, isn't it? We've obviously picking up the injury as soon as he walked through the door. But I totally agree with you. I thought he was outstanding to a man on Sunday. But it's going to be interesting, isn't it, moving forward? Because once we get Ben White back fit and obviously Calafiori back in, you've got Timber in there. Obviously that midfield is going to be quite spicy, isn't it? Because you've got Thomas Partey who's been banging for him. Mikel Merino seemed to click with Declan Rice on Sunday, and you've said already that was Declan's best game as well. It's going to be quite a good competition for them for them 2 positions out of them 3.
It's the best thing we could ask for, honestly. To have these 3, you got players of that quality vying for 2 positions. It's what we've been crying out for this for years, haven't we? How many times we look to the bench and we think, oh well, there's nothing coming off there. To have that now, so the players know that they have to be on it game in, game out now, because we all know Mick, he will drop players if he feels it's right. And I just the balance seemed to be back, didn't it? I think that was the biggest thing for me. It almost felt like back when Saka played. They just felt the right balance across midfield, and we weren't getting outnumbered in there. We were pressing superb first half as well together, and some of the link-up play between Rice or Merino with Havertz and Trossard on a few occasions was just fantastic. And it's football we've been craving since the season started. I've been so frustrated with us. We'd become quite a turgid watch at times. But that at the weekend was just incredible. It'd be really interesting to see how we go out and fare against Newcastle, because I really hope now that that belief that we can just go and get at teams and really hurt them. And if we're at it, we should beat Newcastle, and we should beat them comfortably. And we owe them one. We owe them one as well.
I think it'd be just lovely to be able to get Saka and Martin nearly back away from home. As I said, I think we're a much better team away from home anyway, because I think we set up I think we know our role. I think every player knows his role away from home, and that's been proven. Apart from the Bournemouth, the red card changes everything. Do you know what I mean, in that game? But if you look at the 10 games prior to that, absolutely outstanding. And I'm quite excited for Saturday, thinking about it now, because I think, as I said, I think Mikel Arteta will go back into that change room on Sunday, and he will pick out all the positives that happened in that game and say to them, look, you let yourselves down at Bournemouth a little bit. Well, massively, to be fair. You've come here today. A lot of people are questioning whether you can go out there and put it on Liverpool. You've done more than that. You should have come away from the win. And I think he'll say to him, take that first 60 minutes. That's what you're going to focus on going to Newcastle. And I think if we play anywhere near that level at Newcastle, I'm with you, Andy. I think we beat them quite comfortably. And I don't want to get too arrogant, but that performance I see, I think if you can just get the goal scoring breed back into the likes of Havertz again, who's had a couple of games not scoring now. You can get Martinelli scoring and get Saka doing what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? Once we get Odegaard back in there, we're going to be flying again, aren't we? I think we're going to be flying. But the key piece now is the next 2 games. Because if we, I was on the Dublin podcast last night, and I said we at least need 4 points out of the next 2 games at a minimum. Like if we get 4 points out of the next 2 games, do you know what? We want to get 6. Of course, we want to get 6. But if you get 4 points out of the next 2 games, and you can sit there and go, we've been to Villa Park, we've been to White Hart Lane, we've been to Manchester City, we've been to Chelsea, we've been to Newcastle. A lot of these big teams have still got to go to all them 5 grounds, and they're not easy grounds to go to. They're grounds that you can slip up in. I'm sure Man City didn't beat Newcastle away, did they? I think it was 1-1. So if you can go and get 4 points out of 6 over the next 2 games, or even get 6, I think that actually sets us up in a really good situation coming out of the international break.
Yeah. But also as well, sorry, Andy.
That's right.
You mentioned earlier that obviously some people sort of losing their minds after Bournemouth, and that we're currently 5 points or 3 points behind, obviously both City and Liverpool. But like you say, we've played these fixtures that we have already played. We're going to play is nothing compared to what those 2 have actually played. They've barely played anyone. Obviously Liverpool played United, but that's always a given, really, isn't it? And Chelsea are a little bit here and there. They're obviously improving, but they were still there for the taking. And like you say, City have only gone away to Newcastle, really. So the fixtures, they are going to catch up with them at some point. And isn't it Liverpool have a row of really tough fixtures soon as well, I think.
Starting now.
So that's the chance of, if we can get through these, and obviously we click in and the lesser teams and start to perform a little bit better, that's where we're going to be able to catch up, isn't it? With when they, when it comes to City versus Liverpool, when it comes to City United, they've still got these fixtures to play. So I think that's something to bear in mind as well, that we've actually had quite a tough start to the season, in all fairness, and to be where we still are. I think we're of course we're still in the running. Like we're 9 games in.
Yeah,
it's mental to think that it's already gone.
Yeah.
We've got 19 games left to play.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your thoughts on it, Andy? Like with the Newcastle Chelsea, what do you think's been an expectation?
6 points. There won't even be a discussion about let's get 4 points out of these 2 games. And I know maybe we as supporters might go, well, we'll be all right with that, but not anymore. We can't. Not when we're 5 points behind. I mean, we can. The season certainly isn't over by a long shot, but if you lose one of them games, it's becoming pretty critical. Then, I think that the only thing that we'll be thinking about is to go and get 6 points. And they're 2 really tough games, but we've proved this season we can go to the big grounds and the big teams.
Yeah.
You know, we turned Villa over and didn't really play that well that day. We turned Tottenham over, didn't really play that well, but still ground the result out. So let's hope that this is, against Liverpool's been the kickstart, and then we start to see like the free-flowing football that we know we can produce. And when we do produce it, teams can't live with us. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, you're totally bang on. Like we do need the Bournemouth. I said to G earlier on, I said the Liverpool wouldn't seem so bad if we'd gone and beat Bournemouth, but that's where the problem lies, isn't it? Is the Bournemouth defeat that's really kind of stung us, because we haven't looked like anyone else that we're going to lose a game of football. So it is a tough one, but then sometimes you need to take a defeat to kind of improve and get better on certain stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Definitely an interesting 2 weeks ahead. We've got Inter Milan stuck in between that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of manages that week, because it is a strong week. But I suppose the good thing is the Chelsea game's not till 4:30, I believe, on the Sunday afternoon. So it does give us a little bit of additional recovery time, doesn't it, as well? And I believe they play Thursday night football, don't they, at the moment? So even though they've got a squad to probably play about 5 teams, but it does give us that additional day, which is probably a positive thing. Obviously, before we go into the Newcastle, we have got a game tomorrow night, which is in the Carabao Cup, Preston away. Andy, you knew I was going to bring this one up, but obviously you had some good times in the old League Cup.
Yeah.
What are these nights like, mate? Like in terms of like, from your perspective, I know obviously you was getting the big clubs come to you, but being in that Preston changing rooms tomorrow night, Arsenal coming to town, how does that feel in that changing room? And from a Preston point of view, what will be going through their minds in terms of that game?
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. I mean, a lot of players will be pinching themselves, thinking who they're going to be playing against tonight, because that's what it was like when I was at Scarborough and we drew Arsenal in the cup and things. You know, you're so excited because you're trying to see who's on the team sheet, and it becomes the whole week from your match on the Saturday. Your whole week's geared up to this. It's almost like a cup final for them. So Preston will be absolutely buzzing about tomorrow night. We won't be as buzzing about it, but we've got to go there and do a job. But yeah, it's always the case, whether it be the League Cup or the FA Cup, that giant killing will always happen, because these kind of the teams from the lesser leagues have just, it's a free shot for them. You know, they can just go out there and really enjoy themselves. If they get beat by Arsenal, then, well, it was to be expected. But they can just go out there and kind of with a bit of freedom and go and play, which is why you always get these kind of curveball results from time to time. So just got to hope we're not on the end of that tomorrow night, I think.
Yeah, and it'd be an absolutely incredible atmosphere, won't it? Up there. It's going to be a full house without a shadow of a doubt. They're going to be on top of us in terms of the fans and all that, but it's going to be an interesting night for some players within the team, isn't it? Obviously, the two identified players that I'm going to obviously bring to the tables are 2 youngsters, Waneri and Skelly. I expect them both to start tomorrow night. Totally deserve to start. Is this a big night for Waneri? Is it, because I did think that he might be given a little bit more time. He was actually given some minutes at Liverpool, though, wasn't it? Which I thought was a good sign. Just shows that Arteta's got the confidence in terms of putting him in the big games. But I do want to see more of this kid, because what I've seen so far is very, very exciting, to say at the minimum.
Yeah, there's a part of me that kind of a bit frustrated with Mikel Arteta, that I just wish he'd be a little bit braver and just kind of believe in the kid a bit more and give him 20 minutes against Liverpool, because he's got the lot. He really has. On what we've seen, he's got so much ability, and I just think that we need to be almost like what Klopp was like at Liverpool at times. He would throw them in. He would throw the kids in with the first team, and you either sink or swim. And ultimately, I think we know that the both of them, actually, Waneri and Lewis Skelly, both seem to have an incredible mentality, which I always talk about mentality when it comes to us, but they seem to have that in abundance. And I mean, watching Lewis Skelly on Sunday, there was one bit where on the edge of our box, and he kind of turned into a lot of trouble. and it was kind of heart in the mouth moment. But the coolest man on the pitch was him, and he kind of flicked the ball between the two attacking players and got away from them. The special talents, and I really hope tomorrow night they get the full game, as you said. I'd like to think that we can get some more minutes in with Timber, and anybody that's kind of maybe just kind of on the fringes coming back. You might find Saliba will play, just to get him back in and get him up to speed, ready for the weekend. So yeah, it'll be an interesting team selection, because there's a few players that have been sat on the bench for quite a while who'll be hoping to get a go and kind of put themselves in the shop window a little bit. He might even see Zinchenko tomorrow. You never know.
You never know.
I know. So he's become our new Cedric. You just kind of you see him on the bench and that's there. About it. Really, he's just there. Yeah. What a great job. But so we'll. I think it'll be a good mix tomorrow, and hopefully we can continue. Actually, quite often when we throw the youngsters in, the kind of free flowing football's there, isn't it? So it'll be good to see what we do. Really tough game though.
Yeah, it is tough. It's interesting what that lineup's going to be tomorrow, isn't it, G? Josh Nichols, there's another one. He played right back the other week. He could be given an opportunity tomorrow night, couldn't he? If Arteta decides that he doesn't want to risk Timber and just keep him fresh for the weekend, I think there's potential that he might start. But when you start looking at the team, I think William Saliba, like you said, I think we will play him tomorrow night. Whether he plays next to Jacob Kivior, I think could potentially happen. And then obviously, as you said, maybe Zinchenko at left back. Then you look at the midfield, don't you? I think Waneri will start tomorrow night. Does he? I think Declan Rice plays. I think go in there. He needs to have a bit of English spirit in there, don't he? Like a night game. Who knows what it's all about to go in there? So I think he then decides whether he goes with potentially Thomas Partey or Marino.
Or Marino, possibly. Yeah.
What would you go for, G, tomorrow night? If that was your situation, or Jorginho as well? I actually think he'll potentially start, won't he? And probably skip
because it's also one of those where I think for the last couple of seasons, we've been saying that we haven't had the chance in the Cups to give certain players a rest and some of the youthful players a chance. Where I think this is probably the perfect timing going into the fixtures, like you say, that we've got over the next 3 fixtures that we have. This is the opportunity to be making those changes and giving like you say, more minutes for those guys as well. Because if we do end up needed them because of injuries or whatever circumstances in these next games, to have a good game tomorrow night and a good amount of minutes as well will do them wonders going into that if needs be. But then also, I guess in my mind, I'm like, do you really want to see the team change too drastically?
Yeah.
Because that also comes into it as well, doesn't it? But I think, like you say, having a strong spine is probably the most important thing. So playing like Saliba, David Raya is obviously going to be in goal, and possibly Declan Rice or Partey, one of the two, I think, has to be there with Havertz up top. So, and then you can bring in Waneri, you can bring in Jesus, you can bring in Zinchenko and Lewis Skelly around them, but you've still got the strong spine if anything does go wrong. Hopefully not. So it'd be nice to see it will be nice to see them get a chance. And again, you don't want to be risking Timber at this point, because he was struggling towards the end. Of course, he wasn't fully fit, and he put a shift in, of course. But then to go and play him in this fixture is like, you've got to kind of manage him still, don't you? Because we don't know what Gabriel is going to be like at the weekend either. So, I think he should be rested tomorrow.
I think it's an interesting one. I think Jorginho will start tomorrow night. I think he will start tomorrow night. I think he'll probably skip the team tomorrow night as well. I think it's a toss-up. I think Partey will be rested personally. I think it's toss-up out thinking about it, Declan Rice or Moreno that goes on the left-hand side. I think with the tradition of the game, potentially Declan Rice would be the better option. And when you think about it, Declan Rice can easily play 2 games in a week, where Moreno he's only coming back into the English game. Can he play 2 games in a week, 3 games in a week like that? I think Arteta will think for it like that. So I think he'll go Jorginho and Declan Rice tomorrow. I think he'll start Skelly at left back. I actually think Zinchenko might not even start again. Thinking about it, because I think he'll be really concentrated on giving Skelly minutes, and it'd be very, very disappointing if we didn't play Skelly in this game. And then you look at the front 3. Gabriel Jesus is obviously going to start. I would have thought starts up top tomorrow night. I think he'll play Saka on the right. He pretty much plays Saka inside game in, game out, don't he? And then I think his decision out of Trossard and Martinelli. But yeah, again, I think it goes Martinelli. I think he
might play Sterling.
Oh yeah, sorry, Sterling. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, Sterling would definitely start. So I think maybe Martinelli on the bench, because he played Sterling and Saka, didn't he, together against Bolton.
Yeah.
So,
and it'd be good to see Sterling, because he has looked sharp, and he's been so unlucky, having to get taken off when we had the sending off that game, and it just hasn't really got going for him just yet. But every time I see him on the pitch, he's looking sharp, and he's wanting to kind of to get involved. And I think we'd all just love to see him score an absolute worldie, and then that's him taken off then. So maybe tomorrow could be a good day for him, just to get another 90 minutes, look sharp, maybe get a goal or an assist, and do his confidence the world of good.
Not a bad player to bring in, though, is it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I forgot about him totally. But you know what? It's interesting with the Sterling situation, isn't it? I feel really sorry for him at Bournemouth, because I actually thought he weren't having a bad first half. Don't get me wrong. There were a couple of his final ball you're thinking that he does need to improve, but we brought a player in that's pretty much in the Havertz kind of mould the season before, isn't it? Where he's obviously fallen out of love of football a little bit at Chelsea. We're trying to bring him in and give him the confidence, but we haven't really been able to give him the minutes and the game time so far, have we?
And that's the sad thing. I think that's why we have slightly forgotten that he's there.
I know, it's quite dreadful that I forgot that he was there.
Yeah, so did I, to be fair. Then I thought, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I thought at Bournemouth it was. I mean, I know at that stage someone has to be pulled off for the team, don't they, to change things up. But I think that was quite harsh on him to be the one. And yeah, it's one of those. Obviously, when the transfer happened, we were all we knew his experience that he could bring, what he's done for England as well, and obviously playing in the Champions League. All of that does shine bright for him, but I think we're still a little bit apprehensive as well at that stage as well. So it would be nice for him to get a minute tomorrow, do something as well, and kickstart his career in. Because like he said, when he joined, he's ready for it. He wants to prove it. So now he has to be given the chance and then go and do it, because I think he could quite quickly become a fan favourite once he starts getting stuck in.
I think it's like any player. I think he just needs a big moment at a big time. Do you know what I mean? You get that big moment, and he's capable of supplying that big moment at a big time. But yeah, again, like some people saying to me the other day, should he have brought him on? It just, the game didn't materialise to bring him on. That was the problem on Sunday. But obviously, Sterling, you want him to come on in them games. You want him to have big moments, and I believe he will have a big moment. But I just feel that it hasn't fallen for him at the moment. So hopefully, a good performance for him tomorrow. I'm actually going to go for him to score. Now we've mentioned it.
Hey.
I think he's definitely one of my scoring predictions tomorrow now. But
Nice.
I think it'll be around Saturday. But then he might even play Inter Milan, because you've got to think of the other thing. He's not going to be available for Chelsea because it's parent club.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that he will go out and play against Inter Milan as well. So he might get some minutes over the next week, which will be good for him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll go for the 2 score predictions, and there's just one thing I want to ask Andy right at the end on. So Preston go first. I'm going to go for. But before we start that, Neto will make his debut tomorrow as well. We're not even mentioned Neto, but he will make his debut for Arsenal tomorrow as well. So good luck.
No, he's not allowed.
Is he? Oh no, he's not. Is he?
He's cup tied.
Well, Ray's in goal. We're sorted then, ain't we?
Jennings.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that was a great signing, wasn't it? Can't even play in any of the other games.
I would not be making smart people. I don't know my stuff. I'm gonna go now, Raz. I'm gonna go for 4-0. I think it'd be comprehensive. I think we've got too much. And And they were 3-0 up, they were at the weekend, and drew 3-3, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you know who the other team were?
No.
Yeah, it was Plymouth.
Plymouth. The mighty Plymouth.
I was also going to say 4.
4-0.
Yeah.
I'll go 3-0.
Cool.
3-0.
And the Newcastle game, I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal against Newcastle.
I will go 2-0.
I'm the same, G. I was going to say 2-0, and I'm going to stick with that.
Nice.
And last but not least, I just wanted to obviously have a bit of a conversation. Jack Wilshere moved to Norwich.
Yeah.
Back end of last week, didn't he? What's your kind of thoughts on that? It's a really good move for him, I think, and a good step for him in his coaching career.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I think one thing about Norwich, which has kind of been renowned over the years, is how friendly and homely a club it is. So coming from his own home, I suppose, with Arsenal and stuff, and going there, and Norwich have always played the kind of style of football that we know he seems to enjoy, and he flourished playing in them systems, but and his coaching seems to be all about that as well. So yeah, it's a phenomenal chance for him. I just wish they didn't get such a good start of the weekend against my other team, Middlesbrough, but there you go. All Jack Wilshere's fault.
Yeah, exactly. But really, really good to see him get that job, and wish him all the best over there.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we see him back in the Premier League coaching at some point.
And he'll always have that wonderful goal against them.
Yeah, he will. I'm sure he reminds them of that every single day. I'm sure he reminds them of that.
Yeah.
But obviously, thank you very much, guys, for a really good show. Really enjoyed that. Some good discussions had on both the men and women's game. So yeah, thank you very much. You, G, got anything massive going on this weekend, or just going to be watching the football and taking it easy? I'm sure you won't be.
Yeah. So actually, on Thursday evening, as you all know, I'm an auntie and a very proud one. And I'm not forceful, but they know that we play football together. That's the thing. Our family is a football family. So I've been asked to go and watch him train for the first time. He's only 6, so he's a couple of weeks in. So I'm going. That's my plan. Is I'm going to go watch him play. Obviously, Project Declan Rice is in full swing. But yeah, when it comes to the weekend, of course, it will be watching both games. They're both, as we say, lunchtime kickoff as well. So nice to get it done nice and early, and then enjoy the rest of the weekend. So yeah, looking forward to it.
The only problem is if you lose, then it becomes a bit of a bummer, don't it?
Never back the early kickoff.
Yeah, it's the best result to win at the 12:30 because it sets your weekend up. But by God, it's crap to get these.
Do you know the worst one? If you go and lose a Friday night game, that's the worst one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, God.
Yeah. I've got nightmares of Brentford away still for the first game of the season.
Yeah,
COVID times.
Dreadful weekend that was. And yourself, Andy, up to much, mate? Or
sadly, we can't do a great deal because our puppy managed to break a leg on Saturday. So she's in for an operation next Tuesday. So she's next to me on the couch at the moment, but she can't move for a few days. So we've got to sit with her all the time. But it'll be involving the couch and plenty of football. That's for sure.
Oh, well, I hope her operation goes well, mate. And
thank you.
Recovery. No, I'm not pretty. I'm pretty much. I'll try and have a bit of a dry November. That's why I'm on the water. So I'm going to be just chilling out this weekend with the boys. Watch the games, and I started showing Bobby some Lion King clips, and he absolutely loved it. So I'm going to hunt upstairs in the loft at the weekend and get the DVD down, and we're going to watch it together. So hopefully we'll watch it after an Arsenal victory.
That's what we want.
Yeah, that is definitely what we want. And thank you to everyone who's been in the chat. Obviously, your support, as always, is very much appreciated. We will be back next week to do a post. We will obviously do a quick preview on the Preston game. We will look at a preview on the Newcastle performance as well. And yeah, massive game next week, next Wednesday at Inter Milan. So we will be back on Tuesday night. So we'll see you then. But yeah, 3 massive games coming up, guys. And we need all the wins we can get. Have a good evening, all.